Welcome to tonight's video. We're going to start off by talking about angles and how to rotate an angle in standard position. An angle that is in standard position is fixed alongside the origin, and its initial side is on the positive x-axis, and it rotates with its terminal side. So there's two sides. The initial side is the side that is fixed along the positive x-axis, and the terminal side is the side that rotates. Whenever you have a positive angle, that's the one that rotates counterclockwise. So notice this angle here is 225 because it goes counterclockwise. This one would be like 100 degrees because it went counterclockwise. If it's negative, notice it's going clockwise. So the negative sign just talks about the direction. So this would be like negative 100 degrees or negative 60. It talks about the direction. Now, when a terminal side lies in a specific quadrant, we say that the angle lies in that quadrant. So if it starts on the positive x-axis, this is 0, 90, 180, 270, and all the way back around is 360. If you go negative, this would be 0, negative 90, negative 180, negative 270, or negative 360. So this 120 degree angle lies in quadrant 2 because it's 120 degrees, so it's past 90 but not quite 180. Any angle that lies on the x or y axis, like 180 degrees or 270, is what's considered quadrantal. So 180 degrees right here, this is quadrantal. So like 270 degrees right here is quadrantal. So let's look at some here, estimating the measure of the angle. And let's say this space right here was 30 degrees. So the angle is going to be 360, because that's a full circle, minus 30. So this would be 330 degrees. Let's say this was 45 degrees. Since it goes clockwise, it's going to be negative. So it's going to be 360 minus 45, which is 315, but it's going to be negative because of the direction. So here, let's say this was 60 degrees. It's negative because of the direction. So 180 minus 60 is 120 degrees. So this would be negative 120 degrees. Quadrant of each angle, 140. Well, think of the picture, 0, 90, 180, 270, back to 360. So 140 would be in quadrant 2. Negative 45 would go right here into quadrant 4. Just remember, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And 290 would go all the way past 270, but not 360, so it would also go in quadrant 4. So angles that are greater than 360 or negative, so greater than 360, if you were to draw it, so you start here at 0 and you go around once, so this is 360, and then you have 210 left, so there's 90, 180, 210, so there you go. That would be 570 degrees. So it's one rotation plus 210 degrees. For 380, it's one rotation plus 20 degrees. So that's 380 degrees. And negative 870, well, 720 is two rotations. So you're going to go negative 360, negative 720, and then you have 150 more, which ends up in the third quadrant. So it's negative 870. So if I estimate the measure of the angle, let's say this space here was 30 degrees. Since I went around once, that's 360. And then it's another 150. So 360 plus 150 gives you 510 degrees. Here you went positive. Let's say this was 20 degrees. So you get 380 because you went around once and then plus 20. Name the quadrant of this angle. Well, notice 440 minus 360, so one rotation would be here, and then 80 more would still be in the first quadrant, so it's quadrant 1. 720 is quadrantal, because 720 would just go around twice and line up on the line. Negative 810, so negative 810 goes around once, goes around twice, and then 90 more lines up there, so it's also quadrantal. All right, two angles that are that look the same but are rotated differently, like for example 120 and negative 240, these are what are called coterminal, meaning they have the same terminal side of the angle. The only difference is their rotation. So notice here 570 degrees and negative 150. It's the same angle, just rotated differently. So to find a coterminal angle between 0 and 360, if it's bigger than 360, I'm going to subtract 360. So that gives me 40. So 400 degrees would be one rotation plus 40. And then 40 degrees would just be like this. There you go. Those are coterminal. If it's negative, then you can add 360 to get the coterminal angle between 0 and 360. So if I add 360 here, it gives me 255. So negative 105 is here, and positive 255 is there. So that's the concept of coterminal. The next thing we're going to talk about is a reference angle. So we've talked about how to find the trigonometric functions of a specific angle. And actually, I'm going to make that a separate video, so look for that next. So if there's any questions about how to rotate the angles, just ask us in class. All right, have a good evening.